Skills Pays Bills Boxing, back with another video, and this time I'm looking at Daniel Dubois' rather unique strength and conditioning regime ahead of his huge showdown with Joe Joyce on November 28th, live on BT Sport. So Daniel does a lot of his strength work and conditioning work down at, his strength work as per se, down at the Commandos Temple down in Deptford, southeast London, and he has been for quite some time. And they've got some unique approach to exercise and the unique approach to equipment. They've got world's strongest man equipment, the yoke, the Atlas stones, as you saw just a moment ago. And yes, you know, straight away I'm thinking, okay, that's a rather unique way of training a heavyweight fighter, considering the risk to injury ratio, etc. But his coach, as you see here, does have different methods, and here you can see what they're trying to do. Considering the way Joyce fights the juggernaut, he likes, he's unrelenting, he pushes the pressure, he uses his size. You can see here his coach is obviously focusing on that and thinking about Daniel being able to be strong enough to relent the clinch, to push him back and to stop Joyce having that success as his engine starts to rev up through the fight. Whether you agree with this or not, you know, that's your thing. I know that this approach to strength and conditioning is completely different to someone like boxing science, like Danny Wilson and the guys up there. It's not as meticulous in the programming and how they do it. But, you know, again, his coach here coaches him through what I believe is, I could be wrong, guys, forgive me if I am. I believe this move is called Skin the Cat. It's on the Olympic rings. As he comes over, he's having to utilise everything, stabilising with his shoulders, his forearms are having to be strong, his core. He doesn't actually touch the floor there as well, by the way, and then he comes back round. He's looking at the flexibility in the deltoids, the front pec. Yes, there's a high ratio of risk to injury, but he's able to do it, which is, again, a fascinating thing for a guy of his size. He does perform these actions very, very well. You know, he's having to bring his hips through here. He's having to stay in this position. I know his coach wanted him to be a little bit more straighter. And then he's having to really engage his glutes. He's having to engage every aspect, every muscle in his body here. It's a rather impressive sight to see, as I say, a guy of that size be able to do that. Now, does it translate to boxing? Well, there's a lot of aspects. I think sometimes we get hung up as boxing coaches and fans on this having to do things that are exactly like boxing. It doesn't have to be. If you're working the muscles correctly, it can translate over. Now, here I've got a laugh. My instant thought was, my word, Martin Bowers has got a good tan at this time of year, until I realised it wasn't him. I must be getting bad eyesight in my old age. But here he's doing a Mayweather Style reaction pads with this coach. I don't know his name, forgive me. But it's like, you know, just focusing on that cognitive aspect and being sharp and catching and countering and reacting a little bit sharper. They're obviously clearly expecting this fight that he's going to have to be able to be sharp enough to catch and counter, especially when Joyce looks to go to the body and head with his lack of, well, what so-called lack of speed. I presume that Daniel will be looking to catch and counter there, and that's what that's to do with. Here you can see he's doing a barbell complex. So initially there he was doing overhead presses with 60 kg, 20 kg bar, 20 on either side. And then here he's doing partial range. He was doing partial range overhead press, and now he's doing partial range squats. Now, I don't know whether he's doing partial range here because he's tired or whether it's a lack of mobility. He isn't really getting much of depth. He's not getting to depth at all, not even parallel. He's just pushing his hips back. So again, some of the training I'm unsure whether it's by method design or whether it's a lot of it's off the cuff, old school mentality. What's impressive about Daniel is he does give me that air of an old school fighter, you know, that George Foreman, that, you know, that style, that throwback fighter. What I would say is with barbell complexes, I would never actually advise them myself to a fighter with heavy weights, just from the point of view that aspect's dangerous of bringing the bar from over the head, because the bar cannot touch the floor until the end of the exercise. So here you're seeing him working with a 25 kg plate, press ups. And then here he's banded, working on his footwork. So you'll see a lot of this. You'll see a lot of this with a lot of modern day strength conditioning coaches. I will say this, I'm not here to criticise these guys. everyone's unique, and if you can get the results doing it the way you do it, and your fighter's safe, and he gets to fight night safely, you know, more the power to you. I'm not here to criticise. I think there's a lot of strength and conditioning work that I don't agree with. I think some of them get too big for their boots. I know, shout out to Porky's Corner, I remember him saying about Peter Fury, and I remember Peter saying that. And I've been thinking about doing a video on strength and conditioners. I think sometimes some of them overemphasize their worth to a certain extent, and I think sometimes fighters spend far too much time doing strength and conditioning work and not actually working on the craft of boxing. So, and I've got to be honest, I'm not talking about these guys, but I'm talking about in general. Some of them are not even level 4 strength and conditioning coaches in this country. Some of them are just PTs. They're the same as me, a qualified personal trainer, and you know, I think there's a bit of a grey area in that respect, and who these fighters are actually training with. Because sometimes I've seen it with football, where players have actually been told to stop training with PTs due to fatigue and injury. And I do love this. I love seeing it's like an old school approach. I know Martin gets the boys at the Peacock. He used to get them running when they was in Kenyon Town, running the stairs, etc. And they're doing it again here. The boys at the Peacock running, getting them, you know, just that elevation, working the stairs. I do love that old school approach. And I like that Daniel is mixing a functional approach of training and training with his body weight. It's not just weight training, but it's actually training body weight, resistance, functional, different modes, and that's healthy. That's, I think, it's about balance. And I think so many people, even in the personal training industry, which I'm involved in, so many people get you know, caught up in just training in one modality, and that is it. I think people need to focus on that balance. But it's really impressive, but whether it's going to be enough on the night against Joe Joyce, who's working double hard himself, remains to be seen. So let me know your thoughts, guys, and like and share and subscribe. Thank you.